Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Let's Max Warframe, where we're going to be jumping on the Prime Access hype train and checking out the brand new secondary on the block, the amazing looking Akbolto Prime. Now, the Akbolto's been in the game for longer than I can remember, quite frankly. In fact, I think it was actually introduced into the game the exact same time I started, way back in Update 6. It's actually the same time Nyx was introduced. This means the Prime really has been a long time coming. So now the Prime's here, what do you get from it? Well, it requires a little bit of farming. 2 receivers, 2 barrels, blueprint and a link, making it one that is going to take a bit to get all the pieces to. Once you have got it though, you'll get a twin sidearm doing 32 damage per shot. The vast majority of that comes in the form of puncture and then almost no impact and slash. It's a bit lower than the base Akbolto and the Telos Akbolto, however it makes up for it in other ways. One way is that huge critical chance of 36%, which when you add the primed crit mods, the prime crit chance, it brings it up to over 100% critical chance, which is incredible, especially with the massive 280% critical damage multiplier as well. A crit build on this more than makes up for that lower base damage. The status chance of 14% isn't terrible either, it's actually enough to make a status build work better than it might first appear. It does have a slightly lower rate of fire to counteract this, however, although to be honest it's not really that noticeable, at least to me while I was using them. But it does have a little larger magazine of 40 and a vastly better reload speed of 1.3 seconds, and that makes them really feel very nice to use. It's not all amazing with the Akbolto Primes though. The travel time on the rounds that it fires means it's going to be harder to aim and to use effectively at longer range, especially in places such as on the plains of Eidolon. They work amazingly on the corridor of like a Grineer ship, but they're more difficult to apply the damage outside of those really tight, sort of narrow, short-range engagements. The other thing that people disliked about the original Akbolto is the spammy nature of actually firing them. Applying the max damage of the weapon means that you really need to spam click as quickly as you can, and honestly not everybody likes that kind of thing. In terms of how I went about modding them though, is 3 former, although to be honest you can probably get away with just 2. On here we have Hornet Strike Barrel Diffusion, Lethal Torrent, the 2 primed crit mods, we've got Primed Target Cracker and Primed Pistol Gambit, and then the final 3 mods are going to be a combination of personal preference. Now I've got on here right now 90% Elemental and 2 dual stats, because I've got it built for Corrosive and I don't really want to dilute the procs with additional chances to proc another status. But the reason I put the extra former in was so you could use 3 full elementals if you dislike the status build, and that even gives enough room for primed heat to charge without messing with any of the other builds, especially the dual stat build that I've got on screen. You could also go with hydraulic crosshairs for more crit chance, and that makes basically every single shot an orange crit. You could use sharpened bullets for crit damage on kill, although that does fall off a higher level when you're not killing as quickly. You could even put lethal momentum on here to increase flight speed if you want to have an easier time landing shots, or you could even put Auger Pact on for extra damage, but also the set bonus that it provides. I found the build on the screen though to be the strongest, at least personally and from a lot of testing. However, everything else is an option here if you want to look into it. So what do I think of the Akbolto Primes? Honestly, they are incredible. I had so much fun with them, they were super easy, super quick to level. I will admit, I kind of went off the other Akboltos. I've not really used the Telos for quite some time, because I just felt that they fall off a bit too quickly for my liking. The Akbolto Prime, however, are going to keep on killing up to a pretty decent level, and are going to be okay in any situation you throw them into, especially on sortie level enemies. You can see them struggling a bit on these 120 Eximus, the top end of a sortie. You don't often get those, but it is definitely a possibility. So, while it isn't going to be massively strong, it's going to do you pretty well still for your sorties. One tip people often give when talking about getting the maximum damage possible is to rebind your fire button from mouse button 1 to your scroll wheel and just keep on scrolling to get the maximum fire rate. Often you can't click fast enough to be able to keep up with the fire rate of the weapon, at least that was the case on the older ones. But because of the lower fire rate of the Prime, that's not really needed here, and you can get away with not doing it. However, it is still going to be a lot of spam clicking, so if you like your fully auto secondaries, if you hate the original Akbolto because of the way it fires, these Primes are not going to persuade you otherwise. I honestly, though, I'm still never going to use them on the plains. I've tried using the Bolter series out there and hitting longer range targets, especially airborne units. It's extremely difficult to do, even when you get used to the flight speed, and often it can be more frustrating than fun. However, in tight corridors where you can put the ragdoll damage from pinning enemies to good work, the flight speed isn't actually as much of an issue, and you can focus on accuracy rather than focusing on just trying to hit things. Landing headshots with its fantastic accuracy, I like them a lot. I've had a lot of fun with them, and honestly, I was very surprised by them. I wasn't excited for them at all when I first heard these were going to be the weapons that got primed, but they are a vast improvement over the others, and really are going to be worth the farm. You are going to enjoy these when you manage to get hold of them. So I hope you enjoyed my look at the Akbolto Prime videos on Mirage Prime and Kagaki Prime coming soon, but for now, many thanks for watching, and I shall see you in the next one.